Rapid changes, accelerated growth, and shocking events. Hey, you guys, welcome to your May energy update. This is Alyssa Rushton with your energy update for light leaders, sensitives, intuitives, and amazing awakened ones like you. This forecast, if you haven't been here before, you're going to want to close down your eyes and pick a number between 1 and 5. And this is the energy that you will most be working with this month, although all of these energies are going to be present for you. And obviously, take what resonates for you in this video, use your own best guidance, and I can't wait for you to dive into this month's energy because it feels so uplifting and so yummy. And there's some aspects also that are on the flip side of that. I also want to say that this energy reading is just for you as a light leader, as an energy intuitive yourself, as somebody who's on this awakening journey. And so even though there's all this other stuff happening out in the world, you're sort of on a different trajectory, you're on a different pathway. And while you might see and witness some really hard stuff out there, my sense is that you will be guided on a muchly different journey in the month of May, June, July, August, on throughout this eclipse cycle on into September and October. So that's the first thing to recognize, is that you've done enough work that you're really on a different journey. You're in a different reality bubble, so to speak. Also, if you have questions, I love to geek out on this stuff. I love to talk about creating your reality and becoming that divine creator. So pop me a comment and let me know your questions or comments, or if there's other things you want me to talk about. I am here for you and I do this work for you. So let's go ahead and dive into these 5 energies for May. Okay, let's talk about this first energy, shocking events and in your face energy to clear. And this can feel confronting and it can feel very hard, but I'm here to tell you that when you have that shocking event or energy to clear, that you'll see it. It'll be so in your face that you'll have to deal with it, and you'll have to actually go within and process out some of those energies that have been lurking in your system. I'll tell you a little story about that in just a minute, but I want to say that these energies are so in your face that it's asking you to go within and see what energy has been in your system. What underlying frequency can you not take forward into this new earth that you're creating? The new earth, if you guys have been here with me for a while, you've heard me say it before, happens as and through you. It starts from within inside and projects itself outside. It does not happen on the outside of you first and then you step into it. That is not how something new is created. It happens in and through the body, as Trevor Hall would say. It happens through your system, and you clear out enough trauma, fear, and old funky beliefs that then your world can start to change before you. So these in-your-face situations can feel a little gnarly. And here's the story. I was flying on an airplane on Monday, coming back to Hawaii from Phoenix, and it was a nonstop flight over the ocean. And when we were getting on the plane, I had the feeling that something was wrong with the engine. It's part of the hassles of being psychic. You should just know stuff that you shouldn't maybe know, but I knew it. And so when the plane took off, I really knew, okay, something's wrong with this plane. But I wasn't really thinking too much about it. I was listening to a book on tape that I was really just loving. And I just kind of went on about my business and trusted that all would be well. And then the airplane pilot came on and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to alarm anybody, but our engine has overheated and we're going to have to make an emergency landing. And oh, by the way, we're going to have to dump out all our fuel and we're going to have to arrive back on this longer runway, and we're going to be greeted by emergency vehicles. Don't stress out, don't be scared, but this is what we need to do." And so instantly I felt all this fear in my body, and I turned to my seatmate and I said, "Hey, do you believe in angels?" And she said, I sure do. And so my first step was to call in those angels for support and call in those extra energies. And then next, I started to work with those lower frequencies that were coming through my body. Because here's the thing that we can't take with us. We cannot take the fear and the trauma and the faulty beliefs that we can't change and work with our reality. Those old programs don't work in the new earth. In the new earth, we actually have to remember that we're divine creators in physical form. We actually have to remember that we can have a massive impact on the outcome of things. We have to remember that we live in the quantum field of infinite possibilities at any moment, and that our consciousness gets to choose and dictate which pathway we go into. And so that was my work that day on the plane, but that is the work of these situations. So no matter what situation you might be confronted with, I hope hearing that little story helps you see that there's a process that you can use. And that process is really simply call in extra support, whether that's angels or your guides or divine energy or a buddy. I twinned up with a seatmate next to me, and I invoked all of it to support our highest timeline happening. And that's something that you too can do. But also, there's the piece that requires us to go within and feel the feelings and feel the frequencies. In my case, it was fear, and it was very real fear. It was coursing through my legs. And my process for dealing with energies that are harder to feel is I take them into my arms and I cradle them like I would a baby. And I just held that fear and I said, hey, I want to remind you that you are divine in physical form and that I love you and you're safe and I've got you. I have you. Me, divine consciousness, right now, I've got you. And I'm here to remind you that you're divine consciousness and you can be here with me as long as you need to. And I'm going to sit here with you until you feel safe. And that is just such a simple process, but boy, does it work. So that is that first energy that many of us might be encountering this month, that shocking event that we get to then work with and alchemize and turn into a magical event. And by the way, wouldn't you know it, the plane landed right at 4:44. And when we got off the plane, they announced that, oh, we found a new plane for you and you're going to be taking off tonight and you're going to get back into Hawaii tonight, which is, if you've been traveling lately, it's absolutely miraculous that we were able to get on another flight that day and not have to stay the night over. So this is something that I'm inviting you into when we have those shocking events, to not allow yourself to be shocked by them, but to go within and do the deep trauma healing work so you can remap and re-alchemize that trauma within your system. Okay, let's talk about energy number 2, dealing with attachment wounds. So we're finally at the place collectively where we are recognizing that we had these wounds, these very early wounds formed by our earliest caregivers that formed our attachment style and these sort of maladaptive coping mechanisms. And we're finally getting into that place where we are able to see it and we're able to see our style of coping, especially as it comes into relationships, because one of the things that's happening on the global scale is we are being invited into more relational energies. And when we're in more relational energies and collaborating with people and communicating with people, we then can see our style of attachment. And that comes out when conflict comes up. And so right now we're being invited into this alchemization and this deep level of healing and being able to see very clearly what those early attachment styles are, and then how to heal them and work with them so that we either don't have to isolate ourselves or get over attached in an unhealthy way to unhealthy circumstances, and how to really see relationships in a new way, how to stay in it and stay with it and be healthy as we are moving into a society that can feel each other, hear each other's thoughts, and sort of know what's happening on the back end. So it's requiring us to go within and really deal with those wounds. So if you are at all having that awareness right now of, gosh, I've been having these relationships and I've been thinking it's the other person, when really I can see now that I've had some maladaptive coping mechanisms that's sort of perpetuating these cycles in my world, and then going and doing some healing work. There's a lot of great videos on YouTube about attachment styles. I will tell you two of my favorite resources, all-time favorite resources that I always share with my private clients. One is the Crappy Childhood Fairy. She's amazing, and she really gets in there and digs deep and helps you rewire your attachment styles. And the other is Connor Beaton from Man Talks. And you can find both of them on YouTube. And I'll actually link to some of their videos down below, because I think the conversations that they're having are so important for our healing, growth, and evolution at this time. And I think you'll probably love them both. So I'm going to link to their videos if you are recognizing that you have these attachment styles and these attachment wounds that are sort of keeping you from the great relationships that you want. This is now the time, because we are being flooded with new levels of love and relational frequencies. But if we're still operating from the old wounding, it's going to cut us off. So we definitely want to take a look at that. By the way, both the Crappy Childhood Fairy and Connor Beaton, I do want to say I'm not an affiliate. I don't make any money from recommending them. I just happen to love them. They're great resources, and I always send my private clients their way. So be sure to check them out. Okay, let's talk about energy number 3, massive expansion. And this is going to lead me into the next energy, but there is a massive expansion that's happening, and it's happening in May, June, July, August, and gearing you up for something in September and October. Okay, so I want you to think about this energy cycle as a longer acting cycle. It's super yummy. I have goose chills everywhere when I tune into this energy. And so this is for those of you who have really been doing a lot of work over the last 3 years to prepare yourself and propel yourself. And you sort of know, like, oh, now it's my time. You can feel it. Okay, this energy is not necessarily for everybody listening here, but some of you might have even felt called, even in the last 6 months, to think, oh gosh, I've got to get myself prepared. I can sort of feel something coming. And it's a massive expansion. By the way, April probably felt like more of a contraction in many ways. March and April kind of felt like, oh, you kind of had to slog through some junk in your world and slog through some stuff in your life, maybe some family issues, some issues with your kiddos, all that sort of stuff kind of bubbling up and erupting. And you've been able to clean out enough and work through that constriction and hold a higher frequency that now you're able to work with that expansion energy. And by the way, the universe works in contraction and expansion energy. That is how Mama Universe births itself. So learning to be able to be okay in the contraction and then also be able to be okay in the expansion is part of the ride. And so in May, you're starting to now see some of these expansions come forward. You're starting to feel the momentum, but the momentum is going to keep building for you in June, in July, in August. You're going to feel like, oh my gosh, a new version of you has birthed forward. And it's almost going to feel, and they're showing me an image right now of somebody who has had this vision, maybe for the last 10 years of their life and themselves, or maybe it's been all of your life. You've had this vision, and it's like now in May, June, July, and by the end of August and September, it's like, boom, it's finally here. You're finally the person that you've been wanting to be. You're finally that light leader that you've been wanting to be. You are it. You don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just who you are. You are isness. Okay, that is just the you-ness of it, and you can finally set it down, and your life is finally aligned with who you've been wanting to be. And you can just take a breath and go, oh my gosh, yes, I'm doing it. I'm here. And you just want to, I'm just so excited for you because this feels like such a big time of expansion. Now that leads me to my next energy number 4, which is preparing for changes. So you can probably feel like in your system, there's a lot of changes going to be happening and on the global scale as well. Okay, so I want to say that there's a lot going to happen out in the world. And one of the things you're going to want to do is tune into the changes that are happening for you and keep sitting in the question of what's going to put me in my highest alignment. Ask the universe guides, most highest, most loving frequencies of light. Show me, tell me, let me see with clarity what is going to put me in alignment with my highest, most light filled path so that I can prepare for these changes, so that I'm not caught off guard, so that I can start to make forward movement. Okay, you're going to want to know some of these things in advance. Many of you are being called to move locations. Many of you are being called to make job changes. Many of your significant others are now finally in the place where they're feeling called up and moving forward and finally making that change, sort of extracting themselves more from that 3D success-based model and moving more into the soul's path, that 5D soul's path of living from the heart instead of living from the mind, having that integration process happening. So really getting yourself prepared for some of the changes. And by the way, this is for many of you that maybe are the energy that we talked about massive expansion. Maybe you're also in that, or maybe you're not quite there yet. But this energy of preparing for the changes is going to help you align with what's coming next for you. And so giving yourself a few months to sort it out and not needing to make the decision today, even, but allowing the information to drop through, allowing yourself to take a pause and take some rests daily out in nature and just receive the information, receive the frequencies so that you can attune to the places and spaces where you are most going to be of service, because that's what this next phase is about. Being in the places and spaces where you can most be of service. Okay, wherever you've been in a very healing place for yourself, and you've been able to do a lot of healing. And now it's about the time where you're able to hold more, and you're able to really be that port in this storm. And you can just have the capacity to be in the place where the people are going to need the most support, and aligning to that, and aligning to the places where you're also going to have some great experiences. You're going to be riding a wholly different wave of frequency and light. And I can tell you, it will feel fun to be able to hold this frequency. It will feel fun to be able to ride the life stream at this level. Just like when I was on that plane, if you didn't already hear the story, it was fun at some level to be able to work with that level of reality and really craft and move the energy into a different outcome that day. So this is where you're headed. You are headed into a mastery path. You're preparing for some changes. You're aligning your life. You're looking at those parts of the life that really don't fit anymore. And yeah, they really served you at one time, but now you can kind of get the sense of, oh yeah, I've moved past that. I've grown past that. And I no longer need that for my healing and growth and evolution. And you can release some of the attachment to what was. And by the way, when you do, a lot of cool stuff comes in for you. So this is a really exciting energy of preparing for these changes and getting yourself set up. I also want to say, when I say preparing, the thing that can conjure up in a lot of people, some people hear that in fear. And so if you're hearing that in fear in your system, like, I've got to prepare for changes, I've got to stock up on gold and bullets and ammunition, if you're hearing it that way, I want to remind you to go within your nervous system and create some safety there for yourself, because you get to create your reality. You get to heal your nervous system. And so when I say preparing for changes, I don't mean stockpiling things. Of course, have food on hand always, but that's not what I mean. If you go back to our most spiritual texts on the planet, how did the masters deal with change? Well, let me tell you what they didn't do. They didn't stockpile their houses with bullets and guns and gold and, dragging food storage around with them. That is what they didn't do. What they did do instead is they tapped into their divine frequency energy, the knowing that they are divine in physical form, that they are God in physical form, and that they have the ability to create and manifest exactly what they needed, exactly when they needed it. And so this is the gift of this time. That is how you prepare for change. I was talking to my mom on this trip that I made to Arizona, and she was telling me about a great uncle of mine who was traveling in Africa back in the early 1900s, before there was good communication. There was the telegraph, but even then that was a little iffy, especially if you were in a town where there was no telegraph. And she was telling me the story of how they missed a train and they had to communicate to the tribe a few days travel away that they had missed the train and to meet them on a different day. This great uncle said, I don't know how we're going to do that. I mean, how are we going to let them know? And the tribesmen said, well, we're just going to tell them in the field. Just going to tell them. I don't think that's their exact words, but we're just going to transmit the idea, and they'll be there to meet us, and they'll arrange all the transportation, and it'll all work out perfectly. And he said, well, how will you do that without a telegraph? And they said, well, this is what we do. And so we're being brought back around to some of the wisdom that, especially in our Western societies, we have been trained out of using. We are being brought back around to these changes of intuitively being able to read somebody. We're being brought back around to being able to see what's in somebody's field, to see what's in their heart, to hear their thoughts and have knowings about people. We're coming to the place where that's going to be more commonplace, where we are working more on telepathic levels. We're working more on heart communication levels. So these are the changes I'm talking about preparing for, not stockpiling anything, not, physically doing something in your world, but energetically preparing, energetically asking, where are you most called to? Energetically asking, what are some of the skills and gifts and talents you can work on? Energetically aligning yourself to a different field of possibilities. Speaking of physical possibilities and preparing for change, I do want to mention that our planet is in a great phase of change as well. And so one of the things we're going into is this change in our environment, our change in our climate, our change in weather patterns, and even in some cases, how the land is structured. And so we're really being asked to let go of any perceived notions, any ways that we have locked in that things have to be a certain way. And if an environment no longer works for you, that is part of the push. We are being redirected into different spots and geolocations on the planet at this time. So if you're feeling a soul's pull, like you no longer resonate, you're in London, but you don't resonate with London anymore, and you've been really feeling the call to go to Mexico, explore it. Ask the universe to support that change. And if the change is supported, ask it to just expand the energy and facilitate that change for you. Now is the time where our global boundaries are breaking down more than ever. We're coming into a place in time and history where over the next 4 to 6 generations, we're going to become a global citizen of the universe. Okay, so we're not cut off from just thinking that we're all alone here on planet Earth and this is my country and no, that's my country. We're coming into the emotional maturity that we live in a galaxy of other beings and other dimensions, and that when we open our hearts enough and our intuitive capacities, that we then can operate in a different way and stop harming each other, stop perpetuating traumas on each other, and we can graduate into becoming a citizen of the galaxy. But right now, we're still working through a lot of that trauma processing. So be prepared for some global changes as well as Mama Earth shifts her frequency. And again, if you're feeling any fear around that, you really just want to go into your own nervous system and work with that fear. Fear is just another energy that wants to be remembered as divine in physical form. Fear wants to be seen and reknown, and it is our opportunity to do this. I have a saying, what you hold in darkness stays in darkness. What you hold in fear stays in fear. And so if we have fear and push that fear away, that fear never gets integrated. So it's our opportunity to do that. I call it the baby cradle arms, and cradle up that fear and just say, hey, come here, I've got you. You are safe with me. And I love you. And I am reminding you that you too are divine in physical form. And then you can watch that fear melt, and you can also watch your life start to change in pretty miraculous ways. The fifth energy for this month is new understandings about how our reality is wired. And this is sometimes a hard one to fully wake up to. And it's even hard for me to fully talk about. I'll be honest with you, I've resisted talking about this for a very long, long time. But when you truly look at how our current reality is structured, you start to realize how broken certain aspects of things are, from anything to our circadian rhythms and how we sort of get up in the morning, pull out our cell phone, start looking at our phone, and we miss the sunset. We don't get outside right away, many of us, and we just go on this autopilot cycle of being in front of the computer all day, going, doing, so that we can get the money to buy the stuff. And that is something that we're realizing on a global scale, and we're seeing how broken it is, but we're also seeing some other underpinnings come out, such as how the food industry, which is created by the chemical industry, which is also attached to the pharmaceutical industry, we're seeing how that whole cycle plays out. And if you ever care to just do a little Google research and just look up one of the big brands, okay? Just look up one of the big brands and see how many companies they own. And then just do a Google search. What pharmaceutical companies are they attached to? Yeah, just do it and see what you find. Because what we're finding is that there's such deep layers of how, as human beings, especially from the 1970s to now, that we've sort of been sucked into this deeper cycle of eating foods that don't serve us, living lifestyles that don't serve us, working in jobs that are disaligned with the soul at soul level, and forcing ourselves to be a square peg in a round hole, and then medicating our way through that, right? And it's a whole profiteering system that happens upon that. And so this is a hard truth for people to wake up to. And there's a lot of other hard truths that are coming out now, but it's finally able to be seen. And one of the reasons for this is that our planet, so planet Earth, is coming into alignment with something called the Great Attractor. And the Great Attractor is like this big black hole. And the black hole is actually here to help balance that polarity and pull us out on the other side and have us have a wholly different experience. But in the process, it's like this cleanup. I often refer to this as the French press effect, where we're literally being squeezed, like you would squeeze a French press to get all that grit out. so that we can have this lovely liquid. And that's what's happening to us right now. We're being squeezed, literally squeezed out to see the programs, how our reality has been constructed, how we start to play out that reality, how we either contribute to it or unplug from it. And it's part of our job right now to unplug from some of these pathways and really redefine our world. You might even feel called to set up, they're showing me a picture of somebody who's setting up this beautiful sacred geometry based living situation for a community, and how they have it all designed so beautifully and so much intention. And they've talked to the land and they've asked the land, like, where do you want these houses to be, and what do you want here, and what's going to be nourishing for you. And that's really part of this, is waking up to how far off track we've gotten from living in harmony with our planet, our home, our mama, and how we can then rebirth something new. The new earth happens as and through you. And so it's those internal nudges, those internal shifts and changes that you're being invited to make. And some of you, I can see some of you right now having this vision for retreat centers and living situations. And now's really the time when you're going to be more supported to do that and to map out the vision, put it on paper, start talking about it, start telling people your idea, because the plugs have been pulled from the old energetic matrix. I saw this in the newspaper just the other day. A 99-cent store, a national chain of 99-cent stores, I believe it was national, don't quote me on that, but a big chain of 99-cent stores is going out of business. Think about what a 99-cent store sells. They sell a lot of cheap stuff that's made with a lot of funky, questionable chemicals that comes from China, that then they sell to us very cheaply. It was probably created with a lot of slave or child labor and not talked about. And then here people who are not doing well financially are purchasing those things, but it's keeping them sick and stuck, right? It's not thriving them. And so for something like a 99-cent store to be going out of business, that lets you know that the energy has shifted. And all of a sudden there's all this new energy for you, so that those underlying structures, it's like they're toppling. They're finally toppling. Is there fallout from that? Absolutely there is, but there's also a massive opening for you to step up into these new leadership roles, to create something new, and to really go within and start talking to Mama Earth and to start talking to the universe and have the conversation, what's going to be nourishing and beneficial for the people on this planet and the planet herself at this time. So to wrap it up, May is a very exciting month, lots of expansion energies, lots of heart opening energies. And I'm excited to know which number you feel like, which one of these energies you feel like you'll most be working with. If you liked this video, please subscribe so that you can get our updates and be notified when we create new videos, and share this with a friend. It really helps us, it helps the channel, and it helps your friends, because more and more people are waking up every single day and they need to know that they're not alone and that they're supported. All right, so to wrap it up, I wanted to also share a couple of tips and takeaways for you for the month of May. Okay, so here's your biggest tip and takeaway for this month of May. And it's something that I've been talking about with a lot of my clients and on some speaking events that I've been doing recently. One of the best things that you can do for yourself in May is to really reclaim yourself as divine in physical form, and to stop all the second guessing, to stop all the questioning of yourself, to stop all that old story about you. Because the truth is, you're here, you're listening to this for a reason. You're here on the planet at this time for a reason. And to keep second guessing yourself is really only just holding you back, and it's holding back your experience. And it's kind of like if you were needing to climb up a mountain, and every couple steps, you're like, should I be going up this mountain? I'm not really sure if I should. Maybe I'll go back. And you come back down the mountain a little bit. And then you're like, well, yeah, maybe I guess I should go up. And then you keep walking a little bit and you're like, I'm not really sure if I've got all the right equipment. And even though you've got your whole pack with you, you keep second guessing it. And that, my friends, is the biggest tip I can give you, is to stop the second guessing, to reclaim all of who you are, to fully reclaim your divinity, that you are divine in physical form. You are God, source energy in physical form, whatever you want to call it. You're the universe in physical form, waking up to yourself. And you have the ability to be a powerful creator in your world. And the more you embody that energy, you can start to ask yourself questions like, as a divine creator, what do I want to experience? What energy can I be every day when I wake up? What energy can I bring to the planet, even when there's massive changes going on? What energy can I hold even when crisis happens? Who can I truly be when I'm holding that frequency of divine and physical form, of peace, of radiant love, and tapping into that frequency every day? Maybe you start your day with those questions like, how much divine source energy can I hold today? That opens up your energy field so that more energy can flow to you and through you. Asking questions like, how much love, unconditional love and compassion can I hold today? And then watching for the floods of unconditional love that come in through your world. This is the work right now. And that is the best tip I can give you to navigate these next months, which I think for most of you are going to feel like a catapult forward into some of the most amazing times of your life. And this is why you came here. This is what you were built for. So it's time to really claim all of who you are and step in to the full magic of you. Okay, I love you so much. Be sure to pop me a comment below. Love you guys. Bye for now.